experiences we have in life add up to the sum of what we become. We supposedly learn from all our experiences, and the gift of music that Trish and I have experienced has certainly uplifted me. It has brought us to where we are today. Today is the third in the series of what has been described as my feelings as I've reflected over 6 years worth of blogs on reflections101.com. Uplifted, inspired, and annoyed. The music composed for Sunset Blossoms, David's song in honor of David Guest, was our very first piece of music. We learned much from it. How we were able to feel uplifted and inspired so that we could continue and go forward making more music. We used our intuition and asked for continued guidance and creativity in making our music together. For Michael Bishop, at a time when he was gravely ill, Take My Hand became a song of healing, and I also came to remember the music of Then and Now, and the lyrics with the same name. Trish and I have had many things to look forward to, and it still continues on today. So today, I continue to feel uplifted. Uplifted. The times I asked my friends to pray for a friend who was doing poorly. Then there was a time that Trish and I wrote a song for Michael called Take My Hand. I sang the song, so we were going back a few years. It wasn't until after I had open heart surgery that my singing voice was affected. I couldn't hold a tune anymore. That was sad for me, but I also realized that not being able to sing was a fair trade-off for being alive. I do miss singing. We all get something, I believe. No one escapes this world alive, and we all die, and it is always from something. Encounters with hope, beauty, and grace. I blogged about Linda Licio, Michael Bishop, Trish Clifford. In the past, there were blogs about friendship. Linda Licio, who I've known since 1976. She's such a good friend. We know each other so well. We care about each other, and we knew each other's parents. Linda knew my parents, and she would often spend time with us on weekends back in the 70s and early 80s. I knew and cared about her brothers. I dated one of her brothers, her oldest brother, Don. That's how Linda and I actually met. Other blogs written about Michael, his friendship, and his difficult illness that he's had to contend with, and asking for my readers to please pray for him. And my readers did pray. Michael is still alive, albeit difficult at times, but he remains hopeful, faithful, and he continues to go forward. I have learned a lot about gratitude, about staying positive, mercy, and hope from these phenomenal friends. Their stories have also been included in the books I have written, and how the importance of a good friend is in our life. Gives us not only friendship, but it helps us develop bonds with others, sharing our lives, our stories, our triumphs and foibles. We are not an island. We need others in our lives. They say it takes a village, and so it does. What lifted my spirits? Promoting exceptional people in my life. I'm doing a shout out to Troy Burgess, a retired police officer in Ardbeg. A few years back, she spearheaded the renovation of the school in Ardbeg and has turned it into a community center. When the hall was completed to the point where it could be rented out, I was lucky to hold my 75th birthday party in the renovated hall. When I heard in January that my sister-in-law Sandra was terminally ill, it hit me like a ton of bricks. A beautiful woman who did such unselfish things for her family, shopping for her elderly aunt every 2 weeks, designing and quilting unique wall hangings and bedspreads, quilts, her quiet skills that went into building and restoring and collecting dollhouses. Then there was also Claudia, my neighbor. Around the same time, I heard that my creative neighbor was ill and undergoing radiation treatment in Sudbury. When one hears about a friend who is not able to go about daily living, certainly makes one not only think about the friend, but it also brings into reality that we are aging and we do not live forever, even though we think we are invincible. Claudia Elliott was a beautiful, well educated woman who had over the years created many pieces of art and had written a children's book. Her positivity, even though she was in palliative care in the West Perry Sound Health Center, I could visit her and I would see her pretty well every week while I was having iron infusions at the hospital. Claudia remained happy, never complaining, while waiting for her wings. In an effort to have something positive come out of their lives and death, it was important for me to write about being one's own advocate when it comes to healthcare. I blogged about my own colonoscopy and the importance of looking after our health. Honoring Claudia Elliott and Sandra Bowers Lamb, both courageous women who fought cancer and succumbed to that wretched disease. Both women were beautiful souls. Neither one deserved what they would end up taking their lives. But cancer doesn't care who it attacks, young, old, rich, poor, a regular person, your friend or mine, or a celebrity who has tons of money, yet the money couldn't save their life either. What can we learn from the lives of others? It helps us reflect on our own life. What can we do to make our lives count for something? What kind of a legacy are we leaving behind? What are we able to do to help others while they struggle? It is important to share helpful information with those who need it. For instance, making sure that other women who are at risk can live safely without threat or abuse. To share methods that can be quickly instituted to help a woman stay safe. To remind people that abusing another human is not an acceptable practice and that it's our responsibility to stop the circle of abuse. The next word that I looked at was inspired. Creativity sparks revelation or deep insight. Seeing the beautiful turtle regalia that Paul Newman made for his regalia outfit. It took 6 years to make, and that may seem like a long time, but when you're creating something beautiful, time has no barriers. Every second that he put into it counted for something. And when you see a friend making something so special, like Margie Salagi did when she made the pair of indigenous winter mitts made from leather, rabbit fur, and seed beads, I was awestruck. Congratulations on your first prize win for these beautiful mittens at the fair. Years ago, before I moved to Dunchurch, I created a beautiful pelican. Percival was his name, and I made it for Lauren's birthday. It was life size, standing on a post in the harbor. Next was a Paverpole blue heron, who I named Georgette. I dressed her up with a turquoise pleated skirt, a bejeweled collar, and she was all dolled up and ready to go to the prom. Maxwell, the flying pelican, was gifted to the Whitestone Public Library. Both Percival and Georgette stand about 44 inches high. Percy's finished in a bronze paint, and he resides in our living room. And then, of course, there was Saskia, Everly's elephant, and a few smaller pieces, birds and bears. All were inspired by my storytelling. I had so much fun designing and building these sculptures. I also am inspired to design and create jewelry, necklaces, bracelets, earrings, and collars for women and several pieces for men. All of them are one of a kind, and some were also prize winning at the local fairs. This past fair was the third fair that I had entered pieces into. Making jewelry was an artistic time away from writing. It is and continues to be a wonderful hobby that is another way of me expressing my art. It also gives me an outlet to create special pieces for people who are my friends, embellished scarves, hats, gloves, and other things. Another outlet I'm developing is not just weekly blogging, but writing books, hopefully making a difference in all our lives. Topics include preparing for death, Fibro Warriors, a book about fibromyalgia. Now, the last word that I'm going to be talking about is annoyed. Frustration, challenges, or moments of tension. Many people still can't find a doctor. People who are not able to get help in a timely fashion when they need it the most. And in Ontario, especially here in the north, where there are many baby boomers, there just aren't enough facilities or doctors. Patients sometimes have to drive 3 or 4 hours, as I do, to get treatment in the GTA. Yes, they have the Northern Travel Grant, but the upfront cost is quite expensive, often having to stay overnight in a hotel. It can become annoying. Then there is the high school problem here in Parry Sound. Yeah, this is a different one. Many local high school students from the Whitestone area didn't attend traditional school this week. In Whitestone, the Near North School Board had not made provisions for high school students who were expected back on September 2nd to have them farmed out into the community and being taught by online teachers. On the advice of Graydon Smith, the MPP for Parry Sound Muskoka, the Ontario Minister of Education, Paul Calandria, has announced that he will launch a full governance review of the Near North District School Board. Thank you. In a Bay Today article by David Briggs on August the 29th, he writes that Calandria wrote a letter to the Near North Board of Education on July 25th. They had at least a month to prepare for what was being left to the last minute. Why had parents not been notified that the school would not be open in time for September? Here in Whitestone, the library board took it upon themselves to make alternative arrangements for students at the Whitestone Library in case it was necessary. When Mayor George Comrie didn't return Councillor Brian Woods' Thursday morning call until Sunday, Woods had already acted. I'm very impressed that Peggy and her board had made alternative arrangements. Kudos to the Whitestone Library Board for addressing this issue in a timely manner. It could have been looked after by the Near North Board of Education. Library Board Chair Peggy Whale and a couple of other members of the board, Kath Lamb and Mary Johnson, met with Eva Fincham, the librarian, early on Thursday. They took up the challenge, and the Whitestone Library was made available so that students could attend. Injustice. The rise in criminals getting bail and not and not being able to protect your own home without being charged. Peterborough 2 weeks ago and Toronto this week. One police chief said, "Don't fight the one who breaks in." Yeah, right. Then there was Carney's election. He is giving away the farm, in my opinion. I find it annoying. 10 years of corrupt Liberal government, and they pull Carney out of a hat, and the voters think that it will all be fixed. My goodness, how naive can you get? Canadians were cajoled into voting Liberal again. Pie in the sky. They had short memories. Carney is no knight in shining armor, folks. His theories are destroying Canada, the best country on the planet. Stop liberal immigration. No infrastructures to uphold the rise in population. Not enough doctors, schools. Planning is not a priority for Liberals. Trudeau's resignation was dicey at best, with many corrupt overtures, and Carney, in my opinion, is even worse than Trudeau. 10 years of manipulation now continues, except it's worse. Canadians need to wake up and see how they are being manipulated into becoming docile Stepford people without a voice, no money, and government controlled. Carney is living up to his book values. He has been in office for about 180 days and still no budget. He caved to Trump, and his government has announced that 20% electric cars will be sold by Canadian dealerships next year in 2026. Annoyed, Carney's government has issued 105,000 work permits to immigrants, while we have 6% unemployment in Canada. Dealerships are forced to sell 20% electric vehicles next year. Never mind the grid can't accommodate charging these electric cars. Where I live in north central Ontario, my power has been out 3 times in a 2-week period, exactly when people are coming home from work and they're turning on the air conditioner on hot days. Climate changes have been with us for many centuries, millenniums even. The volcanoes, they are the biggest cause of today's environmental problems. It isn't the average person causing climate change. Look at taxing airlines, trucking, and ocean-going traffic. We all end up paying anyways. Governments are taking advantage and secretly signing up to have a one world order government to eventually take over. Let the rich, who have all the tax breaks and the write-offs, pay their fair share of taxes. Carney is busy getting rid of the middle class and making people vulnerable to receiving handouts from the government. The rich will thrive and the poor keep paying. Sound familiar? And Carney is the biggest proponent of this. You need to read his book. Only people pay taxes. Climate changes has been around for millions of years. I'm so glad I'm elderly. I sincerely hope that Pierre Poilievre, who was the sensible, honest candidate, is able to get a non-confidence vote and oust this very toxic, expensive, and out-of-touch prime minister who's in office at the moment. Carney needs to be ousted with a vote of non-confidence, and then vote in a sensible government who cares about the people they work for. Sensible taxes. Quit spending the money we don't have. Cut the crap, Carney. Go back to lunch with your elitist buddies, but do it on your own dime. Because you are doing a shit job for Canadians. Have my blogs led to my growth and clarity? I have learned a lot about human behavior over the years, and my chaplaincy training has given me the experience to read people and to understand what makes them tick. My readers, I think, have learned many things as well. I insist I will continue to be happy, calm, and peaceful, uplifted, inspired, and yes, sometimes annoyed. If you liked today's video, please like and subscribe to my channel. I wish you all a very good week, and I will see you soon. I'm Katerina Bowers for Reflections 101. Have a nice day.